That's the way it is. You live in direct relation to the poets, the heroes, and the sheroes you have. Always honor the elders. Then you honor yourself. Honor women, you honor yourself. Honor men, you honor yourselves.
Yo family, real quick, I'm proud to announce the soft launch of Sincere Love to God's new book, From the Womb to Illmatic, a hip-hop-inspired blueprint for unlocking your child's inner genius. This ain't your average parenting book, this is for the culture, inspired by Illmatic, built around his own son Seven's early development, and packed with real tools to help parents turn everyday moments into genius-level learning. If you've ever wanted to give your child a head start without losing your roots, this book is for you. Available now on Amazon. Order now and leave a 5-star review. You already know, we raising brilliance around here.
Hi, I'm 7, and I'm the Super Harry. That means I ask big questions, I make big moves, and I come from something powerful. In this series, I broke through change, embraced my culture, and unlocked the gifts that my ancestors gave me. These books are for kids like me, kids with heart, with pride, and with big dreams. Come join the journey. Collect all 4 7 the Super Hero books and unlock your power. Available on Amazon and Kindle now. Order your copy today.
All right. Peace, family. Peace, family. What's good? What is good? Top of the top. Top of the morning to y'all. Welcome to another episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. I am the God Sincere Love, and I am here unroutinely on a Thursday morning. It's Thursday, right? Yeah, on a Thursday morning. Just want to come on here and chop it up with y'all about a subject real quick. Normally, I'll be in the gym right now, but I decided to take the day off the gym. I need to rest a little bit, let my body rest a little bit. But I still wanted to be productive with my time. So I said, well, let me go live and chop it up with the people and touch on this topic that I feel like is rather timely in this moment right now. We just had the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson. And so there's a lot of talk about that. A lot of people are talking about that. There's a lot of discussion around whether or not us as foundational Black Americans should honor his legacy or not. You know, there's a lot of questions around that, what Jesse Jackson's actual legacy is going to be, and what are the things that he's going to be remembered for. And so, I want to only touch on that just to say that I feel like the conversation that his transition has started is a good one. I feel like the conversation that's being had, the question around whether or not he should be honored, the question about what his legacy should be, I feel like that's an important conversation to be had. I feel like there's a reckoning taking place in foundational Black American society. And his transition is symbolic in a number of ways. And again, I feel like the conversation that is being had around that topic is an important one, and it should be discussed. It should be discussed. You know what I'm saying? Jesse Jackson was a complicated man. You know, he wasn't all good, but he wasn't all bad, like none of us are, right? Like none of us are. We are all infallible human beings, but um, Jesse Jackson was in a certain political position, and he represented a certain thing that was bigger than himself and beyond himself. So it has to be examined, it has to be scrutinized. And I think that all viewpoints are fair and warranted. Now, some people that's just being outright just disrespectful with no type of real substance to what they have to say. They just want to just drag the man and drag the man's name through the dirt just for the sake of it. I don't feel like that's constructive. I don't feel like that's constructive at all. But if people are having serious discussions um and around whether or not he should be honored and what his legacy should be, and the people that feel like he shouldn't be honored and that his legacy is trash, if you have some substance to offer around that opinion to back that opinion up, I can respect it. You know what I'm saying? But if you just on here babbling just to drag the man, just you know what I mean, I think that's corny. That's non-constructive. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not saying that everybody has to be on one side or the other. I feel like both sides are valid, right? And so that's all I really have to say about that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just glad that the discussion is happening. I'm glad that people are talking about it. You know what I mean? But R.I.P. to Jesse Jackson. R.I.P. to Jesse Jackson and condolences to his family. I'll say that. But that's not exactly what today's topic is about. That's not exactly what I'm here to talk about. I just wanted to touch on that very briefly, just to let y'all know where I stand on that. Right. And so again, for me, it's just it's good that the discussion is being had. That's where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at with it. I'm glad the discussion is being had. I think it's important. And so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to take it back a little bit to 1972. In 1972, in Gary, Indiana, there was a national Black political convention that took place um, in the month of March. I think it was like March 10th through 12th or something like that. It was a national Black political convention, Gary, Indiana. Um, and it brought tens of thousands of Black Americans together down in Gary, Indiana to discuss the issues that were plaguing the community and the social and political crisis that Black Americans were facing at the time. And they brought together uh, Black politicians uh, that were elected to office. They brought together civil rights leaders and thought leaders from various schools of thought. Everybody put their differences to the side, their political differences, their ideological differences to the side, and decided that it was important to come together um, and show a united front for one common cause, right? And now it was really organized by um, the mayor of Gary, Indiana at the time, who was Mayor Richard Hatcher. Mayor Richard Hatcher was the mayor of Gary, Indiana for 20 years, from like 1968 to 1988. And so again, this convention, known as the Gary Convention, took place in 1972. So I guess 4 years after he was elected mayor. So maybe he was up for re-election at the time. I'm not really exactly sure. Um, but it seemed to me, when I look at it, when I read about it, and when I look at why the convention happened in the first place, it seemed to me that everybody was willing to put their differences aside and come together because it was really in support of Richard Hatcher being the first Black mayor of Gary, Indiana. And he was like an unapologetically Black voice at the time, being elected to a Black city, being elected mayor of a Black city. I feel like, the symbolism of that was looked at as progress, and people wanted to see more of that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like people wanted to see more of that. And so they decided to all come together, go down there in Gary, and like I said, show a united front. And so let me show y'all a clip of, so to give y'all a brief idea of, what went down out there in Gary, Indiana. You had the Reverend Jesse Jackson was one of the speakers. You had, well, I think Bobby Seale from the Black Panther Party was down there. He was one of the speakers. You had Betty Shabazz. You had Coretta Scott King. You had Dick Gregory. Bunch of prominent Black people. What's his name? Not Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier might have been there. I'm not sure. But what's the other brother's name? I forgot. But y'all see in this clip right here some of the people who attended this convention. Let me show it to y'all. Y'all check this out.
I am a black man. I want a black party. I do not trust white Republicans or white Democrats.
Here, honey, you want reparations? Take it. This is reparations.
10,000 people, 10,000 brothers and sisters from almost every state.
The black man has been taught to be inferior. He thinks the white man's ice is colder, thinks his sugar is sweeter, thinks his medicine is better. We got to clean off our minds. Some of the white news media has criticized us for calling this convention and welcoming all of our brothers and sisters. But we shall determine who comes to this convention, not the white news media.
This is how you've been injured. This is how you've been destroyed. You was changed from an African into a Negro. Took your name. I want an afro. I can't even wear one. The man done messed it up. I know your name is Jones or Johnson or Williams. You know darn well that you have no business with English names. That he killed your conscience.
Black is our common denominator. Brother Malcolm X said on more occasions than one, only when we recognize that our common denominator was slavery and that our numerators didn't make any difference, because we come together and begin to break it up.
They have come with one purpose in mind, and that purpose has eluded our people ever since we left the distant shores of Africa. That purpose is to unite all the segments that go to make up the thing we call Black America.
I know a lot of you are a little jumpy. Yeah. Your white folk are waiting for you to call them on the phone. It's real bad to be in a slum, but it's far worse to have that slum in you. When we run down black folks and run from white folks, the slum is in us. It's not that we got too much ego. That ain't the problem. We ain't got enough ego. When you sit here with your healthy black body, sit here with your developed black mind, and then put your confidence, put your creativity, put your belief in somebody else who is less intelligent than you to represent you. Your ego has been castrated. You need an ego. What time is it? When we come together, what time is it? When we respect each other, what time is it? When we get our self-confidence, what time is it? When we form our own political party, what time is it?
In short, America has had a fundamental role in making African peoples of the world into the footstool of white Western civilization.
Boom. So there it was. And that was a clip from the documentary that was re-released like in 2020, which was funded by Jane Fonda and the Hollywood, what was the name of that organization? The Hollywood Foreign Convention or something like that. The Hollywood Foreign Convention, and Jane Fonda, they put the money up to reproduce this documentary film about the Gary Convention in 1972. And it was Harry Belafonte, whose name I was trying to think of, by the way, that was there also. But y'all saw in the clip some of the people who were there. And so the question that I have that I want to ask on this broadcast here for the family is, was it a success? Was it a success? Was it a failure? And why? Peace. What's going on, family? Thank you for the $2 super chat. Steez Lewis 6812. If you live up early, you work in New Black Media. Yes, indeed. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Right? Was it a failure? Was it a success? And why or why not? Right? And so, Nelly Fuller always taught us, in order to solve problems, we got to ask questions, right? And so, since the passing of Jesse Jackson, I have seen a lot of people sharing clips from this convention, part of his speech from this convention. You see, Jesse Jackson was out there talking about he don't trust Democrats or Republicans, right? And shout out to Queen Mother Moore, by the way. I think she was the only one out there that was talking about reparations, right? And so, I took a look at the Gary convention, and my question is, okay, so what was the agenda? What was the agenda? Okay, you got all of these black people from all of these different schools of thought to come together for one common cause. That's good. That sounds good. That looks good, you know? And so, what was the agenda? What was the agenda? Come together to do what? Was it just a feel good moment? Or was there some substance? Was some real substance there? You know what I'm saying? And so, what I want to do is I want to go over the Gary Declaration of the National Black Political Convention, which is basically the agenda. They wrote out what the Black agenda was supposed to be. This is the Gary Declaration National Political Convention, and it's the Black agenda, right? I want to go over this. Let me share this with y'all so y'all can see what I'm reading. I'm going to be doing a lot of reading on this broadcast because I'm going to read the whole thing. I don't want to just read parts of it. I'm going to read the whole thing. I know a lot of people never saw this before. A lot of people don't even know about this convention. A lot of people don't even know that this convention took place. You know what I'm saying? So again, with the passing of Jesse Jackson, a lot of this is resurfacing. So a lot of people are learning about it now, which is good. But we got to ask these questions. So let me share this with y'all, and I'm going to read it in full. This is it right here. Hold on. Let me fix my screen here. This is it right here. I don't need to make it large. I just want y'all to see. Because I'm going to read it to y'all. Right? So let's go through it. The Black agenda is addressed primarily to Black people in America. It rises naturally out of the bloody decades and centuries of our people's struggle on these shores. It flows from the most recent surging of our own cultural and political consciousness. It is our attempt to define some of the essential changes which must take place in this land as we and our children move to self-determination and true independence. The Black agenda assumes that no truly basic change for our benefit takes place in Black or white America unless we Black people organize to initiate that change. It assumes that we must have some essential agreement on overall goals, even though we may differ on many specific strategies. Therefore, this is an initial statement of goals and directions for our own generation. Some first definitions of crucial issues around which Black people must organize and move in 1972 and beyond. Anyone who claims to be serious about the survival and liberation of Black people must be serious about the implementation of the Black agenda. So that's the introduction. That's the introduction. They're talking about we need a Black agenda. We got to lay out what our goals are going to be. Right? Sounds good. What time is it? We come to Gary in an hour of great crisis and tremendous promise for Black America. While the white nation hovers on the brink of chaos, while its politicians offer no hope of real change, we stand on the edge of history and are faced with an amazing and frightening choice. We may choose in 1972 to slip back into the decadent white politics of American life, or we may press forward, moving relentlessly from Gary to the creation of our own Black life. The choice is large, but the time is very short. Let there be no mistake. We come to Gary in a time of unrelieved crisis for our people. From every rural community in Alabama to the high-rise compounds of Chicago, we bring to this convention the agonies of the masses of our people. From the sprawling black cities of Watts and Nairobi in the west to the decay of Harlem and Roxbury in the east, the testimony we bear is the same. We are the witnesses to social disaster. Our cities are crime-haunted, dying grounds. Huge sectors of our youth and countless others face permanent unemployment. Those of us who work find our paychecks able to purchase less and less. Neither the courts nor the prisons contribute to anything resembling justice or reformation. The schools are unable or unwilling to educate our children for the real world of our struggles. Meanwhile, the officially approved epidemic of drugs threatens to wipe out the minds and strength of our best young warriors. Economic, cultural, and spiritual depression stalk Black America, and the price for survival often appears to be more than we are able to pay. On every side, in every area of our lives, the American institutions in which we have placed our trust are unable to cope with the crisis they have created by their single-minded dedication to profits for some and white supremacy above all. Beyond these shores. And beyond these shores, there is more of the same. For while we are pressed down under all the dying weight of a bloated, inwardly decaying white civilization, many of our brothers in Africa and the rest of the third world have fallen prey to the same powers of exploitation and deceit. Wherever America faces the unorganized, politically powerless forces of the non-white world, its goal is domination by any means necessary, as if to hide from itself the crumbling of its own systems of life and work. But Americans cannot hide. They can run to China, they can run to the moon and to the edges of consciousness, but they cannot hide. The crisis we face as Black people are the crisis of the entire society. They go deep, the very bones and marrow, and to the essential nature of America's economic, political, and cultural systems. They are the natural end product of a society built on twin foundations of white racism and white capitalism. So let it be clear to us now. The desperation of our people, the agonies of our cities, the desolation of our countryside, the pollution of the air and the water, these things will not be significantly affected by new faces in old places in Washington, D.C. This is the truth we must face here in Gary if we are to join our people everywhere in the movement forward toward liberation. White realities, Black choice. A Black political convention, indeed all truly Black politics, must begin from its truth. The American system does not work for the masses of our people, and it cannot be made to work without radical fundamental change. Indeed, this system does not really work in favor of the humanity of anyone in America. That was put in parentheses, that part right there. In light of such realities, we come to Gary and are confronted with a choice. Will we believe the truth that history presses into our face, or will we too try to hide? Will the small favors some of us have received blind us to the larger sufferings of our people, or open our eyes to the testimony of our history in America? For more than a century, we have followed the path of political dependence on white men and their systems. From the Liberty Party in the decades before the Civil War to the Republican Party of Abraham Lincoln, we trusted in white men and white politics as our deliverers. 60 years ago, W.E.B. Du Bois said he would give the Democrats their last chance to prove their sincere commitment to equality for black people, and he was given white riots and official segregation in peace and in war. Nevertheless, some 20 years later, we became Democrats in the name of Franklin Roosevelt, then supported his successor, Harry Truman, and even tried a nonpartisan Republican general of the army named Eisenhower. We were wooed, like many others, by the superficial liberalism of John F. Kennedy and the make believe populism of Lyndon Johnson. Let there be no more of that. Both parties have betrayed us. Here at Gary, let us never forget that while the times and the names of the parties have continually changed, one truth has faced us insistently, never changing. Both parties have betrayed us whenever their interests conflicted with ours, which was most of the time, and whenever our forces were unorganized, independent, quiescent, and compliant. Nor should this be surprising, for by now we must know that the American political system, like all other white institutions in America, was designed to operate for the benefit of the white race. It was never meant to do anything else. That is the truth that we must face at Gary. If white liberalism could have solved our problems, then Lincoln and Roosevelt and Kennedy would have done so. But they did not solve ours, nor the rest of the nation's. If America's problems could have been solved by forceful, politically skilled, and aggressive individuals, then Lyndon Johnson would have retained the presidency. If the true, quote unquote, American way of unbridled monopoly capitalism combined with a ruthless military imperialism could do it, then Nixon would not be running around the world or making speeches comparing his nation's decadence to that of Greece and Rome. If we have never faced it before, let us face it at Gary. The profound crisis of Black people and the disaster of America are not simply caused by men, nor will they be solved by men alone. These crises are the crises of basically flawed economics and politics and or cultural degradation. None of the Democratic candidates and none of the Republican candidates, regardless of their vague promises to us or to their white constituencies, can solve our problems or the problems of this country without radically changing the systems by which it operates. The politics of social transformation. The politics of social transformation. So we come to Gary confronted with a choice, but it is not the old conventional question of which candidate shall we support. The pointless question of who is to preside over a decaying and unsalvageable system. No, if we come to Gary out of the realities of the Black communities of this land, then the only real choice for us is whether or not we will live by the truth that we know, whether we will move to organize independently, move to struggle for fundamental transformation, for the creation of new directions towards a concern for the life and meaning of man. Social transformation or social destruction, those are our only real choices. If we have come to Gary on behalf of our people in America and the rest of this hemisphere and in the homeland, if we have come for our own best ambitions, then a new Black politics must come to birth. If we are serious, the Black politics of Gary must accept major responsibility for creating both the atmosphere and the program for fundamental, far-ranging change in America. Such responsibility is ours because it is our people who are most deeply hurt and ravaged by the present systems of society. That responsibility for leading the change is ours because we live in a society where few other men really believe in the responsibility of a truly human society for anyone, anywhere. We are the vanguard. The challenge is thrown to us here in Gary. It is the challenge to consolidate and organize our own Black roles as the vanguard in the struggle for a new society. To accept that challenge is to move independent Black politics. There can be no equivocation on that issue. History leaves us no other choice. White politics has not and cannot bring the changes we need. We come to Gary and are faced with a challenge. The challenge is to transform ourselves from favor seeking vessels and loud talking militant pawns and take up the role that the organized masses of our people have attempted to play ever since we came to these shores. That of harbingers of true justice and humanity, leaders in the struggle for liberation. A major part of the challenge we must accept is that of redefining the functions and operations of all levels of American government, for the existing governing structures from Washington to the smallest county are obsolete. That is part of the reason why nothing works and why corruption rages throughout public life. For white politics seeks not to serve, but to dominate and manipulate. We will have joined the true movement of history if at Gary we grasp the opportunity to press man forward as the first consideration of politics. Here at Gary, we are faithful to the best hopes of our fathers and our people if we move with nothing less than politics, which places community before individualism, love before sexual exploitation, a living environment before profits, peace before war, justice before unjust, quote unquote, order, and morality before expediency. This is the society we need, but we delude ourselves here at Gary if we think that change can be achieved without organizing the power, the determined national black power, which is necessary to insist upon such change, to create such change, and to seize change towards a black agenda. So when we turn to a black agenda for the 70s, we move in the truth of history and the reality of the moment. We move recognizing that no one else is going to represent our interests but ourselves. The society we seek cannot come unless Black people organize to advance its coming. We lift up a Black agenda, recognizing that white America moves towards the abyss created by its own racist arrogance, misplaced priorities, rampant materialism, and ethical bankruptcy. Therefore, we are certain that the agenda we now press for in Gary is not only for the future of Black humanity, but it is probably the only way the rest of America can save itself from the harvest of its criminal past. So, brothers and sisters of our developing Black nation, we now stand at Gary as people whose time has come. For every corner of Black America, from all liberation movements of the third world, from the graves of our fathers and the coming world of our children, we are faced with a challenge and a call. Though the moment is perilous, we must not despair. We must seize the time, for the time is ours. We begin here and now in Gary. We begin with an independent Black political movement, an independent Black political agenda, and an independent Black spirit. Nothing less will do. We must build for our people. We must build for our world. We stand on the edge of history and we cannot turn back. Okay. All right. Hold on a second. All right. Let me go here. All right. So, again, the question is, did they succeed or did they fail? I think it's hard to answer that question. And the reason why is because there was no clear goal. I just read to y'all the full so-called Black agenda that came out of the Gary Convention. And I didn't want to keep stopping and pausing and breaking down different sections of it because I wanted to get through the whole thing. But if you were listening closely, the thing that you will notice is that they talked a lot about the issues that plagued us. They talked a lot about the crisis that faced Black America. And a lot of the issues that they were talking about, we still face today. You know what I'm saying? But there wasn't really a lot of solutions that were offered. I read the entire thing. What solutions did you hear? The only thing that sound to me like what the goal was to get more black people elected to office. That was the solution within itself, just getting more black people elected to office. So, like I said, they were excited for the mayor being the first black mayor down there in Gary. What's his name? Richard. What's his name? Got his name that quick. Richard Hatcher. Everybody was excited about him being elected as the first black mayor of Gary, Indiana, and they looked at him as this symbol to rally behind. And they said, "This is dope. We need more of this." And so they organized this whole convention, and everybody got together to talk about we need more people like Richard Hatcher. That's basically what it was. That's basically what it amounted to, family. What are some good things that were said there? I'm sure it was some good things that were said there. I'm sure it was a very feel good moment. Um, I'm sure it was good for the overall morale of Black society at the time. But when we look back at history, we just got to be honest with ourselves about what went wrong and where the failures were. And so, to me, the failure was that there was no clear agenda. Like I said, Neely Fuller instructs us to ask questions in order to solve problems. And so I want to respond to that Black agenda that I just read by using the work of none other than Dr. Claude Anderson, who has this book here, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. So again, in order to solve problems, you got to ask questions. You got to ask questions. And so, like I said, in 2020, they revised the footage from this convention, and Jane Fonda and some Hollywood organization funded the project to republish the footage from this convention. Now, why were they comfortable doing that? Why was Hollywood and Jane Fonda and people from the dominant society have no problem with putting money behind something like this? And I'm saying the reason why they have no problem with it is because they understand that there's really no teeth in it. They understand that it's really just a feel good moment. It was really just about symbolism. And they want to recreate that. They want to bring that same energy back. They want to create that in today's time. You know what I'm saying? Let's show them how their leaders did it in the past. And hopefully they can get on the same page and follow that same blueprint. Maybe they'll do another march somewhere in some other city and come together and talk about their problems and just basically vent. All right. That's why they have no problem with it. But let's talk about it, right? The thing that they were advocating for in their black agenda, their so-called black agenda, the only thing that they were advocating for was getting more black people elected to office. Now, Dr. Anderson, and I was trying to find a video earlier before I came on here, but I couldn't find the particular video that I was looking for. But Dr. Anderson for years has been giving us the stats about basically where we were, where Black society was when we didn't have that many Black elected officials, and where we are after we got hundreds of Black elected officials all over the country. And he showed and proved how we did not move not one iota as far as progress is concerned. We were still in the same place when we had no Black elected officials that we are now, that we have hundreds of Black elected officials all over the country, that it didn't make a difference. It didn't make one difference. And so they were talking about, at that time in 1972 at the Gary Convention, one thing that they were talking about that I think most of us would agree with in today's time is that the Republicans ain't shit, the Democrats ain't shit. We need to pull out of both of these parties and form our own party. And so the question becomes, should Black people form their own political party? And again, I'm going to go to Dr. Anderson's book, and we're going to ask the questions. I'm going to focus on two questions from Dr. Anderson's book. Now I forgot which page it was. I should have put a bookmark in here. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Oh, 21. Okay. Go to 21. Page 21. 1 second, y'all. If you haven't hit the like button already, please hit the like button for me. Share this out on your social media platforms. Let everybody know that we live right now. And we asking some questions. And so one of the questions from this book is question number 7. Where are the black leaders? Should I do this one first? Yeah, I think we'll do this one first, and then we'll get to the question of should black people form their own political party next. We'll do that next. I want to address this part first. Where are the black leaders? Because again, these were our quote unquote black leaders coming together for this convention in 1972. All right, these were the people that we were told were our leaders. Is there a need for black leaders? What is a black leader? You know what I'm saying? And so Dr. Anderson asked the question here. Where are the black leaders? The term black leader is an oxymoron, he said. Based upon the definition of leader, one has little choice but to conclude that blacks do not have leaders. A leader is a guiding or directing head of a group, one who leads toward a new direction after critical analysis of the social, economic, and political condition of the group. The leader would then develop a plan with strategies to take them to a better place. And so I just read to y'all their so-called black agenda. There was no real plan. There was no real strategies. So can we really call them leaders? Can we really refer to them as leaders? Because this is the definition of a leader. One who leads toward a new direction after critical analysis of the social and economic political condition. I think they did a critical analysis of the social, political, and economic condition. I think they did do that. But then the leader would develop a plan with strategies to take them to a better place. And that's where they failed. That's where they failed. So he said, Moses in the Bible was such a leader. Clearly, the civil rights movement of the 1960s began with the intent to lead blacks in a new direction, but the movement had no national plan, no destination, or group-centered measurable goals. Measurable goals. The main issues were desegregation, voting rights, and discrimination, and did not target equal distribution of resources, a measurable goal that had the potential to change the social construct on race for the group. Because the goals did not challenge the foundational problem of blacks, and the movement became dependent upon government and corporate support, so it was easily controlled, marginalized, and consumed into the policies of benign neglect and the political correctness. All right? And so there's more as far as the answer to that question here, but I think it will suffice to stop right there. I think it will suffice to stop right there. I think that addresses what the problem was with this Gary convention and why we're still in the same condition now that we were prior to it. I think that's enough right there to address that. Right? So now the other question was, should black people, they was asking the question then, but we still need to ask the question now, should we, foundational black Americans, form our own political party? And that's the question. That's question number 38 in the book. Should blacks form and support their own independent national political party? Most definitely, he said. Blacks should form and support their own independent national political party. Voting is based on the core premise of quid pro quo, which means something for something. The delivery of a group's block vote should give the group the leverage to demand benefits to improve the lives of the group members. Blacks then should cast their votes only to support a candidate that has promised benefits specific to their group. They ought not support anybody or anything that does not socioeconomically advance their group collectively. Whites have perfected shifting political parties according to what is best for their self-interest. After the Civil War, blacks flocked to the Republican Party and whites left and joined the Democratic Party. In the 1940s, President Truman integrated the military, and Senator Strom Thurmond led the exit of whites out of the Democratic Party back to the Republican Party. More whites left the Democratic Party when President Kennedy was elected because he was pro-integration, and blacks swarmed into the Democratic Party. Whites choose political party affiliation based upon what is best for them. Blacks tend to stay loyal to a political party even if they receive nothing in exchange for their support. Neither national political party, Republican nor Democrat, has delivered specific material benefits to Black Americans in the last 150 years. And so that was recognized by the speakers at the convention. That was laid out in the so-called Black agenda that they wrote for the Gary Convention. They recognized that neither party delivered any tangible benefits to Black Americans. But some might say, but Lincoln freed the slaves, quote unquote, freed the slaves. Freeing the slaves was incidental to Lincoln's desire to reunite the nation. Freedom for slaves was a collateral benefit. Political party affiliation is a diversion and a straw man. It is not the real issue. From the 1500s to the late 1860s, nearly 5 million enslaved blacks did not belong to any party. From the 1860s to the late 1940s, approximately 20 million blacks belonged to the Republican Party and were Jim Crow segregated. From the 1950s up until 2016, and we'll update now to 2026, 44 million blacks belong primarily to the Democratic Party, and they remain beneath a political policy of benign neglect. They are ignored, displaced, treated with hateful indifference. National party affiliation does not make a difference in the way blacks are treated. Some suggest that there are benefits to blacks splitting their allegiance between the two national parties. However, that does not strengthen blacks as a group. We are already a planned minority. The white majority voters combined with white ethnic immigrants outnumber black votes 9-1, which implies a no or low chance of blacks winning or being considered. Whites do not need the black vote to get a voting majority to approve whatever it is that they want. The only way black voters can be recognized, respected, and become a powerful voting bloc is to form a national independent black political party according to the Powernomics principles. The way for blacks to acquire greater voting power would be to, one, withdraw from both the Democratic and Republican Party, and two, run no candidates for public office. We should form our own black political independent party and run no candidates for office. See, the goal of the convention in Gary was to get more black people elected. And so they were successful. More black people did get elected from then until now. Way more black people have been elected since then. So they were successful with that goal, but it was the wrong goal. That was a fruitless goal. Dr. Anderson said, we should pull out of both parties, form our own party, and run no political candidates. So what should we do instead? 3, proclaim a willingness to vote as a solid national bloc for any political party or its candidate, regardless of color, that promises and delivers the most benefits to Black Americans. So we don't care what party you belong to. We don't care if you're Black, white, are you going to do something for foundational Black Americans? What are we going to get for this vote? That's what we've been saying here in New Black Media. That's what we've been. That's the drum that we've been beating here in the Black grassroots ever since we picked up the game from Dr. Anderson in the first place. So who's going to bring those benefits to Black Americans? The mere possibility that the Black vote might be in play, that they would have to be courted with promises and follow through, that their vote might no longer be predictable, and that 44 million Blacks might vote as a bloc would make it difficult for any political party or candidate to ignore Black voters or take them for granted. So that's enough of that right there. That's enough of that right there. You know what I'm saying? And so again, the Gary convention at the end of the day basically amounted to a nothing burger, and other than just a feel good moment to seeing all these Black people come together, all these prominent Black figures getting up there speaking and all of that. It was just a feel good moment. It was just a symbolic moment, but it had no real substance. It offered no real solutions to our problem. And this is the reason why we haven't seen any progress thereafter. You know what I'm saying? Y'all feel me? Let me see what y'all talking about here. Shout out to Salik Bey. Appreciate you for the $19.99 super chat. Definitely appreciate that. Tracy Clark, good morning to you. Okay. Let me see. I saw it firsthand when Jesse Jackson did at the Miracle Valley incident back in the 80s. He's only slightly better than the charlatan Al Sharpton. Okay. All right. Positive Thursday vibes, FBA family, B1. Shout out to you. Okay. All right. I see y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all up early, checking me out. Shout out to some chick named Star in the building. How you doing, beloved? Ask questions like Elder Neely Fuller Jr. taught us. That's right. That's exactly right. That's how you solve problems. You got to ask questions. Yes, indeed. I appreciate y'all. But that's basically what I came on here to chop it up with y'all about this morning. I just wanted to do that video to lay those things out right there because, like I said, there's a lot of talk about the Jesse Jackson, what his legacy means now. And again, I've been sent and I've been seeing on the timeline a lot of clips from this particular convention. And so I thought now would be a good time to discuss what it was all about and whether or not it's something that should be repeated in today's time. And so I think we can all come to the same conclusion that the answer is no. No, sir. We done with all that symbolism, all that feel good shit and all that. We need real solutions. Okay? And all of the solutions have already been offered. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Anderson already gave us the blueprint, not only in this book, but in the Powernomics book as well. And so it's really simple. It's really simple. And so what we've been working to do here in the Black grassroots and the new Black media is to help the masses of our people to just develop the mindset to flip that switch. Because the solutions, they're not easy, but they're simple. You know what I'm saying? The solutions are there and they're not easy, but they're simple. We just got to have the right mindset in order to flip that switch. And so that's what it is, man. I agree with Dr. Anderson wholeheartedly. We need to pull out of both parties. We need not to be loyal to any particular party. We need to be loyal to ourselves. And so we already know what the problems are. We already understand the condition. We don't got to keep going over and over and over about what's plaguing the community. We know what it is. And we know what we up against. Because some people say, well, damn, look how beautiful this convention was. All these Black people came together. They was all united. What happened to the Black unity? What? Oh, it was COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO broke us apart. The reason why this didn't work is because of COINTELPRO. And you FBAs are out here pushing this divisive agenda, and that's just more COINTELPRO. No, you fools. No, no. Listen, white supremacy is going to do what it does. You know, I'm sure COINTELPRO was at play. You know what I'm saying? Probably not just post the Gary convention, but pre-Gary convention and during Gary convention. I'm sure they had their hands all up in and through that. Yeah, they had something to do with that. But white supremacy is going to do what it does. That's a no-brainer. What we need to focus on is what do we do? What did we do wrong? And what do we need to do differently? You know what I'm saying? What are the things that we can do? We have to take responsibility for ourselves. What are the things that we got wrong in the past when we look at history? And what are the things that we need to do better now? You know what I'm saying? What do we need to do away with? And what do we need to scale? You know what I'm saying? And so, like Dr. Anderson said, we pull out of both parties, we circle our wagons around ourselves, and we offer up our vote as a block for quid pro quo to whoever is willing to wheel and deal. It's really that simple. And if they're not willing to wheel and deal, then we just pull out of the process altogether and we let it crash and burn. We let it crash and burn. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to that graphic with the table, with the black people under the table and all the white people sitting at the table playing the game on our backs. All we got to do is stand up and the game is over. That's it. And so yeah, that's all I had. That's all I got for y'all this morning. I appreciate y'all tapping in with me. Me and Nicety Girl, of course, we're gonna be back on here this Sunday. We're gonna be live around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. So y'all make sure that y'all stay tuned for that. Again, if you haven't already, hit the like button for me. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, man. We chop up good game around here, man. You know, and yeah, always remember, family, I am not the master teacher. I'm only the master student and signal booster for the voices of the new black media. That does it for me. Peace.